Welcome to the Texas Conflict Coach radio program. If you've ever experienced or engaged in destructive or unresolved conflict, then you know it leads to broken relationships, distrust, and damaging results. Our program will help you manage and resolve conflict effectively with strategies, valuable resources, and support. Since 2009, our radio program hosted guest experts from around the globe sharing their perspectives, experiences, and expertise while giving you food for thought. If you can't listen live, then download and listen to any of our 300-plus podcasts in our library at texasconflictcoach.com. So sit back, relax, or join the conversation every Tuesday evening, or tweet us at TXConflictCoach.
So we continue our back-to-school series with guests Laurie Schloff and Lena Warnke in Watch Your Words, Communication as a Tool for a More Peaceful World. Now, how can we use words and voice as tools for a more peaceful world? Tap into your power to create a positive communication experience and climate for yourself and those around you. In this program, you're going to hear about techniques for communicating in a peaceful and proactive way. We're also going to talk about, discussing the new children's book called 20 Twinkling Stars, and I'm excited to have both Laurie and Lena on the show to talk about that. So let's talk a little bit about their background. Laurie Schloff, and that's SCHLOFF, is a coach with a speech improvement company. She works with individual and groups nationwide to enhance communication skills. She is also the author of Smart Speaking and He and She Talk, and has appeared on Oprah and on the Today Show. Laurie's children's book, 20 Twinkling Stars, celebrates the Newtown students lost last December, so that's almost a year, and is a fundraising project for SAVE, Students Against Violence Everywhere. We actually had them as guests earlier this year. Now, the graphic artist for the 20 Twinkling Stars book, Lena Warnke, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, but she'll correct me, Warnke. She is a sophomore at New York University, majoring in linguistics and French. In addition to school, she works as a freelance artist illustrating children's books and album art. Now, 20 Twinkling Stars is her latest project featuring watercolor-based collaging to create a children's book dedicated to celebrating the spirit of children everywhere. Lena's portfolio won the Boston Globe Gold Key Award in 2011. We actually have a number of pieces of graphic art on their show pages, so I hope you go and look at www.texasconflictcoach.com. So, Laurie and Lena, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Patty.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Now, we do have some folks in the chat room, and we encourage you to write your questions or comments so that we can bring them into the show today. And also, we are running a Twitter chat using the hashtag TCC, which is Texas Conflict Coach Radio. So hashtag TCC Radio. And again, comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll bring them into the show today. So we will get right into it. Now, Laurie, you are a communication coach, and as we've just learned, and you're working with corporate clients, and listeners might be surprised to hear about your upcoming children's book. So say more about 20 Twinkling Stars.
Sure. I know there is a difference between writing a children's book and working with people in the business world, for sure. After the tragedy in Newtown, where we lost just 20 beautiful, beautiful children, and also there were 7 educators who were killed, my heart just had to do something. And I happened to have had some free time, and I wrote a book very quickly. I know you're very creative too, Patty. You know how sometimes you just can't stop? So I wrote a book with 20 verses. I know it's dedicated to kids who were lost in a tragedy, but the book is very upbeat, as your listeners can see if they get on your page and look at some of Lena's beautiful art, because it's a book of celebration of the spirit and passions of the Newtown kids we lost, So I learned a lot about the kids, that they love tacos and they love peanut butter and the color pink and they love animals and want to be veterinarians or own a taco factory. But, I just tuned into the spirit of young children everywhere. So it's a book written for young children, ages 3 to 7. And I'm so happy. We're collaborating with National SAVE, Students Against Violence Everywhere, an organization, Patty, I know that you know well. And by collaborating, I mean that we are donating all the profits from the sale of the book to this very important organization that helps young folks, mostly in middle school and high school, to learn how to solve problems nonviolently. I know something very near and dear to you.
Yes, and say more about why you chose the National SAVE program as the place to help.
We were looking for an organization that was comprehensive in its approach. So, yes, of course, members of our team are very concerned about gun violence, yet we didn't only want to focus on gun control as a way to combat violence. We wanted to focus on how parents talk to kids, how kids talk to each other, how teenagers resolve conflict. And we thought, and I think National SAVE thinks, there's a very good fit between our philosophy and their philosophy, which is working with through student volunteers to help young people learn how to solve problems in a constructive, not destructive way. And if only that had happened on December 14th, 2013, 12.
Yes, absolutely.
Be in a different spot.
Well, what a real creative way for you in the world of communication coaching and all the wonderful work you do with clients in the executive world and the business world to put this type of creativity and helping parents, students. But it's really about, like you said, celebrating these children. And I love the art that, Lena, you have done. So, Laurie, help us transition into how you partnered with Lena.
Yeah. Well, I wanted a diverse group. I wanted different generations. And Lena is a sophomore at NYU. She's just so brilliant and creative and warm. I think she really gets children. And in addition, she's also not just, she's probably more than bicultural. She's multicultural and multilingual. I just felt she was just such a great person to sort of feel the heart and spirit of kids in the 3 to 6 range. And we talked about each of the stars. We talk about them like they're people. And then she translates it into the art. So I'm very, very proud to work with Lena and the rest of our team as well.
Well, Lena, so why don't you say more about, what it's been like for you to be part of this project and creating these images, and how has it impacted you as a person and an artist to do this work?
Yeah, it's been a really amazing experience for me. It's been very challenging, yet at the same time fun, and that combination sort of really motivates me. It's definitely a new way of making art for me. I've never made art for a specific age range like this. I've never made art, to be seen through the eyes of children. So while I've been making the book, I've sort of transported myself sort of back to when I was that age and how I would want to read a book and what kind of things, stand out to me. So it's been sort of a new perspective in art for me. And I feel like I've learned a lot from that. And working with different mediums, too, I'm using watercolor and I'm collaging, and that's a combination I've certainly never used, so definitely learned a lot through that as well. And, my favorite thing about this book is that I feel like I'm contributing to a more peaceful world through something that I love, which is art.
So tell me more then, Lena, about what has been really so challenging for you. Is it just from the place of putting yourself in that perspective as a child, or is there something else that was challenging for you about this?
I think it's a combination of both that and sort of, capturing this immense joy that children have. For example, if you look at the Music Star, which I believe is on your website, Laurie and I sat down and we discussed the verse. And, music is something that the Newtown students really love. They love to sing. They love to dance. They love musical instruments. And so I really wanted to capture that energy, and that's sort of how I go through, creating each individual piece for the verses. So translating, Laurie's words into my art and making it appealing to children at the same time, that combination is what's challenging.
Now, let me just clarify for listeners who are tuning in just now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that each star represents the interest of each of the children that were lost in Newtown?
I think it's more general. The stars capture the interest of most of the children.
Gotcha.
Certain stars, yes.
It's sort of a mixture. It's a collage. For example, one of the children, Noah, wanted to own a taco factory, which is so endearing. And there is a taco star. Yet all the kids loved, dancing and music. So things like the Whirly Swirly star or the Music Star apply to a lot of the children. So though there's 20 stars for each of the kids, it's more of a collage than a one-to-one correspondence.
Okay, great. Okay, that's a really good clarity about the children's book. Now, this is you're expecting this to come out sometime this fall, is that right? Could you say when that would be available?
Sure. We hope that 20 Twinkling Stars will be available on the National Save website and also on Amazon. I would say, Patty, probably we're looking at December 1st.
December 1st. Okay, so we'll definitely be looking at that, and we'll definitely be having a shout-out many times as it gets nearer, and we're really excited to see some of the preliminary art and then obviously seeing the completion. Laurie, did you feel, it's kind of the same question for Lena, but that she just answered was, did you find anything particularly challenging for you as a author of this children's book?
What remains challenging for me is the pain and the heartbreak of what happened in Newtown. And just the only thing I could possibly think of doing is celebrating the spirit and joy of those kids and all the kids who are of that age group and should be living really, really long lives. And Lena's contributing through art. I'm contributing through words. I'm more of a words person. In fact, that's why I think Lena and I are a very good partnership, right, Lena?
Right.
She gets the art part, and I help to clarify the vision, through words.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm sure that the parents and the community of Newtown will really appreciate seeing this celebration in this children's book. I assume that you've been in contact with that community, obviously, to gain information and learn about their community. Have they been pretty supportive of what you're trying to do?
I actually wanted to give them a lot of space. I didn't feel that the main thing on their mind was a children's book, but yes, I've learned so much about the kids. And just if I had to put into a theme, Patty, energy, exuberance, spirit. So here's some of the quotes. We miss your exuberance, your energy, your boundless joy. Take flight, my boy. You now have the wings you always wanted. This is painful, but it really captures the spirit of these kids. One child would be throwing a football in heaven, knocking halos off angels, and everyone at his memorial service laughed at that. So I've learned a lot about the kids, and I have been in touch with a few of the parents, but I've just respected their need, especially, for goodness sakes, the first year, to do what they need to do. And, of course, many of the parents are advocates, and we're advocates in our own way.
Well, thank you for highlighting that energy, that exuberance, that joy,
that's what this book is about.
That's
right,
what it's
Lena,
about.
would you say? That energy and spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that the two of you have partnered and can't wait to see more of that. Now, Laurie, your experience and your passion is coaching, and coaching adults, in effective communication. And so and because this is our Back to School series and we're focused on supporting, children and parents and teachers and people in the school community, what can individuals do to create a positive communication climate for children?
Well, I think it all starts inside our hearts and our minds, and I have a few expressions and ways that I put things. So I always say think mind over mouth, especially during stressful times in the beginning of school when we're always in a hurry. Know that our words are powerful. Our kids really do take them in. And then think heart over mouth. What can I say with as much kindness and love? And, of course, I'm not just talking about parents to kids. I'm feeling like the message of the book is let's all use communication as a way to create more peace in the world. Then
Go ahead.
Well, I have so many sayings. In fact, my third book is called Speech Gems, things to keep in mind about speaking. Everyone's wearing a sign that says, make me feel special. In other words, we can, through the gift of words and communication, we can just make anyone we meet, whether it's our best friend or someone we pass on the street when we say hello, we can make that person feel noticed and appreciated. I also teach clients and often parents what we call the 3 A's. That's the letter A, and I'm happy to share that if you want.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I just didn't want to overwhelm with too many.
Let's go ahead and
techniques.
do the 3 A's, and we'll check in. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So the 3 A's are ways you can communicate that help people feel good about themselves, that help them to feel special. The first A is affirm, meaning affirm someone's point of view, whether or not you agree with it. So your child might say something that you might think is wrong or a little bit off, but saying, so I hear the way that you're seeing that, Joe. So you're affirming their point of view. Appreciate means give a sincere and specific compliment. So I have a girlfriend from childhood, and she hates it when her husband says, you look nice. Why? She wants him to say, I like the way the color of that dress looks on you. And she's actually right. The more specific an appreciation is, the more we appreciate it. And then finally, very, very important, Patty, with children is the third A is assure. Lessen their anxiety. Like even though you feel nervous now, when you get to school and see your friends, you'll feel a lot better. That's assurance.
Okay,
Those
great.
Are the 3 A's.
We have affirm, appreciate, and assure, or assurance for the child. And let me just clarify something about appreciate. Now, are you saying that, and you gave the example of the spouse and the wife about, showing appreciation for a compliment, because a lot of times you'll hear someone give a compliment to someone and that person receiving it will say, no, it's not. They dismiss it versus appreciating or being thankful. Is that what you mean by that, or is it a little bit of a different angle?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I live in the world of words. So I guess what I'm saying is show what you appreciate, what you're valuing through words. Yes, that is an issue that comes up, that some people have a hard time hearing it. So I'll have to do some more thinking about that. How can you say it in a way that they're comfortable?
Okay, very, very good. All right, so folks, you are tuned in to the Texas Conflict Coach Blog Talk Radio program, and I have two guests tonight. I have Laurie Schloff, author of 20 Twinkling Stars, and also Lena Warnke, who is the graphic artist for the 20 Twinkling Stars book. And what we've just gone over is, how do we speak with words that create a positive communication client? And it's really about helping people feel heard and understood. And the 3 A's, you just heard, was affirm, appreciate, meaning show what we appreciate and value in the words that we say to people, and especially whether that's children, whether that's our spouses, our family members, our parents, our teachers, or to each other. And the third, of course, is assurance to lessen that anxiety. Talk a little bit, Laurie, about the power of communication, the opportunity to speak for success, because you talk a lot in prior conversations I've had with you. One of your famous phrases is speak for success. So talk more about the meaning behind this.
It's so wonderful to know that we can, in the next moment of our life, use the power of communication to achieve what we want to achieve. In other words, we can't wake up tomorrow morning and, look like Tom Cruise or Heidi Klum. Well, maybe some of us can. But we can wake up tomorrow morning knowing that we can smile, that we can show appreciation, that we can organize our thoughts better. So in terms of success, I would like each listener to think of what would communication success look like or sound like to you. I recently spoke to a girlfriend who went on a vacation with her semi-grown-up daughter. Success to her meant getting along, not having too much fighting going on. Well, in this case, usually it's the mom who thinks, who strategizes. What do I need to do in order for Rachel and I not to have conflict? And she did those things. And afterwards, when we debriefed on the vacation, she said, we had a great time. Sometimes I had to yield a little too much because her daughter's very strong-willed. But that's an example of speaking for success. She did what she needed to do in order for things to go smoothly.
And for you, and I'm going to bring Lena into this conversation around that question. Let's put that question out, Lena. What does communication success look like to you then?
Communication success for me personally is being really clear with what I want to say so that the person who's understanding me can, actually understand exactly what I'm portraying to them through words.
I like that because, a lot of times, I deal with a lot of conflict. That's what I do for a living, right? And there's a lot of times people who are in conflict who come to me for coaching or mediation, they're like, what they heard is not what I had intended to say. And so when I hear you say, Lena, about I want to be clear, that also comes up to mind for me is we have this intention of what we want to say or how we want to say it or how we want to be, but somehow there tends to be a gap between that delivery and how that person receives it, and that comes back to what you're saying, Laurie, about what does that look like and what do we do differently, to have that success come about.
Something's on my mind about Lena's recent success. As a young woman, she had to negotiate with a landlord to get her first apartment with some other students in New York. And as she told me what she had to do to deal with these wheelers and dealers in real estate in New York City, because she's going to NYU, I said to myself, boy, is she speaking for success. Because she dealt with a lot of folks who could have hooked her, who could have made her angry. And she handled it, I might say, like a pro. Certainly like a lot of people twice her age couldn't even manage. So I'm giving you that sincere compliment there, Lena.
Thank you, Laurie.
Okay, great. So the power of communication, you mentioned smiling. So it's not just what the words are we use. I would imagine there are other elements. Do you want to talk about some of those primary elements?
Sure, and listeners can be thinking about as communication as having three basic components. So what you say, so the words you choose, so the difference between saying, something like, how are you, versus, oh, so tell me a little bit about your day. Perhaps the latter comment shows a little bit more interest. Then the tone of voice, and of course, you being on blog radio, Patty, you've really made your voice so pleasant and wonderful to listen to. So your tone of voice, your speech patterns, do make a difference. And then finally, what listeners can't appreciate, so we could be here in our pajamas, is, of course, the power of nonverbal behavior. And you said this before, Patty, there almost has to be a congruence. You know, so if my face is saying I'm unhappy, but my words are saying, oh, it's so wonderful to meet you, you'll sense that tension in my nonverbal behavior. So all these things have to work together. And it's interesting that you're asking me about this, because tomorrow I'm doing, in the morning, a deep dive into how we sound, our tone of voice and speech, and then the same group is going to have a deep dive into how we look, body language, nonverbal behavior.
Oh,
so
that
so
sounds
much
like fun.
you can learn.
That sounds like a lot of fun there, Laurie.
Well, I hope that you can join us one day. That would be great.
That would be great. So we've talked about, you know, you've talked about those three basic elements, and the thing about it is that, you know, no matter how people are with us, we have complete control over how we show up and how we can really have control over that communication success. And so is there anything else that you wanted to share as an example of success or realizing that power that we have within ourselves to communicate in that way?
Oh, gosh, I think all of us have stories about communication successes or the lack of it. And I remember very early in my career, by the way, I worked with young children as a speech and language pathologist. And there was a little girl who had an abusive childhood. She was now with foster parents, and she was hiding under a table, I guess because she just felt miserable about herself. And I remember trying to use the skills I had learned in school, and I said, Yvonne, right now you feel like you want to be small and hide. And it's almost like she said, yeah, you got me. And she came right out and started playing. And I said, wow, one sentence of understanding can do that? And I was sold.
That was
and
very
the power
powerful.
of communication is something as big as that, or something as simple that my mother always said, you know, thank you and please open any door with ease. So it's the little things and it's the very big things.
Yeah, so it's that, again, it's that, you know, how do we create that positive communication climate? Now, in the school, you know, when, you know, teachers, parents, administrators, everyone in that community has a role in creating a positive communication climate. And we talked a little bit about that earlier. When you talk about this positive communication climate, we can make all kinds of assumptions about what that means, but are there specific strategies, even if it's just 1, 2, or 3, whatever you're willing to share, that can help schools create this positive communication climate in their school community?
I love the question. The first thing is to get together, whether it's all the teachers or the principal and the teachers or all the parents or the PTO or PTA, and come up with your communication climate words. What do I mean by that? Is to ask the group, how do we want to communicate? Try to come up with 2 words. So, for example, friendly, approachable, warm, nurturing. And I have clients who actually post these words all around. In my daughter's school growing up here in Massachusetts, there were signs all over, no place for hate.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't say, you can't play. So first of all, decide how you want to be in words. And then, I'm going to use sort of a technical word here, operationalize it. Put it into action. So if you say you want your school to be an approachable place, well, go into the front office. Is there a very high desk that the secretary of the school is behind so the little kids can't even see her? What can be done to make your school more approachable? And can people be trained and think about how they come across? Of course, it's a little more sensitive, but certainly you can have a set of rules about how people talk to each other that after a while become part of your everyday habits.
And I imagine these, for example, the set of communication rules could be something that's in the classroom. It could be something that's community-wide in that school, even, applied and modeled in the PTOs. I mean, there's so many ways that could be modeled, not only at the adult level, but that the children are supported at all levels, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, everyone has to get on board. In order for that to really work.
I remember that in even nursery school, they would always say to the kids, use your words. Now think about that as we circle back to, December 14th, the Newtown tragedy a year ago. Use your words. If only someone had helped that young man who committed these horrible crimes to be able to use words and to reach out.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is helping your children to, through words, help them to develop empathy or feeling for other people. So if you see someone struggling, you put it into words for your child. You go, you see how I helped that person because I could tell she was, nervous about filling out that form? That's something I want you to be able to do, is to help someone when they need some help. So help children to notice others. We have time for one short story?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. Well, this is a story of a little boy, Dylan, who wouldn't come in from playtime. And his mom said, come in, it's time for dinner. And he didn't come in. Come in, it's time for dinner. He didn't come in. She's starting to get a little frustrated. Dylan, why don't you come in for dinner? He said, I can't. I have to help Billy. His bike broke. Oh, Dylan, honey, you don't know how to fix bikes. And Dylan says, Mommy, I'm not helping Billy fix his bike. I'm helping him cry.
He's helping him cry?
Yep, over the fact that his bike broke. Yeah.
Wow.
And I just think it's a beautiful story about a child who developed empathy.
At such a young age. I mean, that is such a sweet, innocent thing, and probably didn't even realize the power in what he said, and yet here he was being present to help him cry. That's beautiful.
Yes, and so that mom should be very, very proud of Dylan.
Absolutely. So we have been, as we're beginning to wrap up our program for tonight, and I'm excited about those who joined us in the chat room and those who've been, kind of listening in on the Twitter chats here at TCC Radio, #TCC Radio. You could still do that there. But as you said, just to summarize those strategies is for what schools can do now to create that positive communication climate, get together with your school community, whether that's in your classroom, your PTOs, and really communicate, really brainstorm what a communication climate word could be. And then you decide, as you said, to put it into action. How will you do that? And then you also talked about, people can continue to get training or even be coached in these types of communication skills, but set these communication rules in your school community. And then the fourth thing you also talked about is using words to develop an empathy. Now, we usually do a call to action or assignment for the week. Is there one of those in particular you want listeners to focus on as their very immediate next step, or something different?
Well, I would just say I know that the beginning of school can be a stressful time, so I'd say SOS, stop, observe, and strategize about how you want to communicate with your kids and family with your mind and your heart.
Love it. Stop, observe, and strategize. I love it. Yes, it is very overwhelming. Some schools have already started. I know here in Texas they'll all start next week. But across the country, everyone's at different levels. And like you said, there's a lot of anxiety getting started, a lot of excitement getting started, and just getting all that transition going. So stop, observe, and strategize. Very wonderful. So, Laurie, where can folks find you? And where can they learn more about 20 Twinkling Stars, when it's going to be published, when it's going to be ready to purchase?
Thank you so much. Well, we would love you to like our Facebook page, and you'll also see Lena's beautiful art. Some of the stars are there, ready for you, ready to say hello to you and your kids. It's 20 Twinkling Stars, all one word. I guess that's how all Facebook things are. And then the page to sign up for more information as we get closer to publication is the website 20twinklingstars.org.
Okay, great. Now, you also mentioned, Laurie, that I know tomorrow might be too late for people to join you, but I assume that there's a number of workshops or seminars or even one-on-one coaching that people can do with you. What's the best way for them to reach you personally?
Sure. Would you like to give me email? Would you like me to give you email and phone, or just email?
Why don't we do your email?
Okay, it's Laurie, spelled, I think, the old-fashioned way, Laurie, at speechimprovement.com. Laurie at speechimprovement.com.
And do you also have that same website as well, speechimprovement.com, or is it a different website for you?
It's the same. It's Speech Improvement Company. So if you look up the Speech Improvement Company based in Brookline, Boston, Massachusetts, we travel all over. You will find us.
And you'll find us there. Now, do you have any upcoming workshops other than the one tomorrow morning, unless someone, pops in tomorrow? Do you have any upcoming workshops that people can, that you'd like to talk about, just to introduce now?
Well, thank you. We do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and we do Skype coaching and phone coaching. The next workshop, our next two-day workshop, which is called the Effective Presentation Certificate Program for people who want to get more comfortable speaking to groups, more comfortable and skilled. We just had our most recent one, so the next one's not till November, so people have plenty of time to plan for traveling to Boston. So
it should be nice weather there, too.
It'll certainly be the fall for sure.
Okay, so they can go to the speechimprovementcompany.com, is that correct? And or
right.
.org?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's .com, and the best way to find out about courses and the November course would be to email me, Laurie at speechimprovement.com.
Great. Now, Lena, for folks who are really interested in learning more about your artistry and the work that you're doing on the 20 Twinkling Stars, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So if you want to see more art for the 20 Twinkling Stars, a lot of the stars are on our Facebook page. So that's definitely a great way to check out, what the book is about and what kind of art will be in the book. And then a lot of my art, too, is on the 20twinklingstars.org website. And the best way to reach me is through email as well.
Okay.
It's Lena, Lena .WARNKE @yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com, and we'll make sure to put that out there for folks as well. So I'm going to, as we begin to close here, I'm going to ask each of you what final message you want to leave with listeners. So, Lena, let me start with you. What final message do you want listeners to leave from this show knowing?
Well, we've been talking a lot about communicating and communicating through speech, and I think I want to, let listeners know that communication is the best way to deal with problems. And for me, communicating meant visually communicating. If, when I was growing up, I often, if I was feeling sad, I would draw or I would make art. And so, communication to deal with things is an amazing way to make yourself feel better. And that can be done through words or through other mediums, for example, art.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Laurie, what final message would you like to leave?
I would say let's all work together to change the world, a more peaceful world, one word, one voice, one star at a time.
Oh, love it, love it. Oh, thank you, ladies, so much for blessing our audience and sharing your expertise, sharing about this exuberant experience and energy in this 20 Twinkling Stars book. And thank you again for joining us, listeners, to listen to the Texas Conflict Coach.
Thank you for listening to the Texas Conflict Coach. We hope you've enjoyed the program. You can find over 300 podcasts archived to listen at your own convenience at texasconflictcoach.com or download the podcast at iTunes or Stitcher Radio. To learn about upcoming radio programs and resources, sign up for our monthly e-newsletter.